Welcome to New Life Live with host and founder of New Life Ministries, Stephen Arterburn. For 35 years, New Life has been transforming lives one at a time thanks to the giving hearts of you, our listeners. Our goal is to provide you with wisdom from God's Word to give you hope and help in life's hardest places. If you have a question you'd like to ask today, our phone lines are open. Call 1-800-229-3000. That number again is 1-800-229-3000. Now here's Steve.
Welcome to New Life Live. It's actually Chris Williams sitting in for Steve today, and I have two amazing people with me sharing the space, the knowledge, the wisdom to share with you. Give us a call, 1-800-229-3000, because I have Dr. Jill Hubbard here, and she has, as always, a ton to share and a ton to give away.
Hello, Chris. Thank you.
And I also have Marc Cameron, who is just a vessel of deep wisdom and insight and helpfulness.
It's a lot to live up to.
Yeah.
Yes, I know.
So good to be with you guys. Good to be with you, Chris, too.
You know I'm teeing you guys up.
Yeah,
right.
I know exactly.
You're going to be doing the heavy lifting today. But it's really good to be here. But I want to jump into something. There is this biblical concept and this human concept of self-control. It's actually one of the fruits of the Spirit. We see for instance, in 2 Peter, on this list that we're adding to our character and character development, right smack dab in the middle of it is self-control.
Which can be so difficult.
It's tremendously difficult. What I see more often than not is that we're not tying self-control to our emotional life. Most of what I see spins out of control inside of us is some sort of emotional reactivity that we're having to something that really we're not grabbing a hold of and paying attention to it. So I want to ask a really broad question. What causes us to spin out of control, emotionally out of control?
Well, I think we get triggered, right? Triggered is kind of a popular word right now, and we go into fight or flight.
Yes.
Right? So when we get in that hyper aroused state, it's hard for us. We're in our primitive brain.
Yes.
So the idea of self-control is kind of out the window. It's just pure reactivity.
Yes.
At that point.
Well, and Jill, I think you bring up something really important because the ability to regulate or self-control, control our emotions, comes from our prefrontal cortex, which is the higher part of our brain, rather than where fear and anger activate in our lower part of the brain. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so when we're reacting, like you're saying, Jill, right, we kind of go on autopilot, right?
Yes.
And so for self-control, it's really a practice. And so you have to actually think about self-control and plan for it before it happens.
Yes.
And so, and in order to do that, we need to develop something called the observing self, right? The part of us that reflects upon our emotions and reflects upon our reactivity and asks ourselves that question, why does that happen?
Yeah.
What's going on for me? What is triggering me? And by doing that, then you can plan for the next time it comes up, right? To then intervene and do something different.
That's good. I love that self-observing part of us. We see that in Psalms, why so downcast, O my soul? That there's there's a conversation that's happening with the self that's really trying to gain insight into what's going on. Yeah, that's really good. I bring this up because on December 2nd, we're going to have the Emotional Freedom Workshop. And the truth of the matter is that, we can encounter things in our life that we think that we are in control of, but doggone it if they don't spin us out of control every single time. And so this is an opportunity for us to unpack, to look at the inside and to see what's really going on so that we can get the healing and growth that we need so that we can live in a more self-controlled manner.
So we can be self-reflective, as Marc is saying,
yes,
right?
Self-reflective, and we can do something about it. That we can experience an emotion and be able to handle it well. I call it the AID, the AID. I need awareness, identification, and disclosure. And in that process, we begin to regulate, get back in our better selves. But on December 2nd, online, Emotional Freedom Workshop. Sign up for day. Give us a call, 1-800-229-3000. We'd love to talk to you, and we'll be right back.
It had become very apparent that some of the things I was involved with were taking over my life.
In today's world, men are barraged with inappropriate content and images all day, every day. Some say that certain behaviors are just no big deal. It's just part of being a guy. But it's simply not true. It's a battleground for every man, and the opportunities to fail are everywhere. New Life's Every Man's Battle workshop can help.
After 7 years, just one weekend, a completely changed man.
For over 20 years, New Life Ministries has been helping men regain their integrity and purity through their one-of-a-kind Every Man's Battle workshop.
He said, I think this is something that every man should go to. Married, dating, it was definitely life-changing.
Now the workshop is coming to Dallas, Texas, December 1st through the 3rd. Don't wait for him to call. To find out more, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE or go to newlife.com.
I just can't say enough of what New Life has done for our marriage.
1-800-NEWLIFE. To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back to New Life Live. It's Chris Williams with Dr. Jill Hubbard and Marc Cameron here today. We will be in studio for 2 hours today taking your calls, 1-800-229-3000. Again, that's 1-800-229-3000. We would love to talk to you, love to help you out. Love to share this time with you. And so with that, we're going to go to Brenda from Mission Viejo. Brenda, are you there? In just a second. Hold on. Okay, hold on. Oh, there she is. Brenda, are you there?
I am.
Hi, Brenda. How you doing?
Oh, I'm great. Thank you so much for taking my call.
No problem. Love having you on. How can we help you today?
Well, I want to know the best approach with my daughter. I have 2 adult daughters, both married with kids. But the one daughter, who I think is a believer, isn't going to church. And so she has one child. And I'm just concerned about him knowing Jesus. Last Christmas, he heard my other grandson talking about Jesus, and so he asked, "Who's Jesus?" And I was so upset by that he's now going on 6, and he doesn't know who Jesus is. Mm-hmm. And so I just want to know the best way to encourage my daughter, either to take him to church or just, introduce him to Jesus.
Let me go with the so upset part for a second. So this happens, that, you see that, oh, he really doesn't know who Jesus is. What happens inside of you when you encounter that experience with your grandson?
I just felt like I need to be doing something. There's something that I should be doing where he sees Jesus and knows absolutely who Jesus is.
Okay, so what are you afraid of in this situation?
I don't want him to grow up not knowing the love of Jesus.
Yeah, That makes perfect sense. Yeah. Jill, what do you think? How do we help her?
Well, I think, it's important to go to church, and that's where, we gather with other believers and we learn and we grow. That's not the only way we learn about Jesus. And it sounds like you're unable to kind of push your daughter in that direction. I mean, she's clearly chosen to not expose her child. Yet here his cousins and other people are exposing him, right? So I'm wondering, Brenda, you as a grandma, do you get time with this boy? Right? Can you?
Yeah.
Do you?
We see him about 4 times a year, maybe 4 or 5. Sometimes at my house, sometimes we travel to their house.
So are you able to send him gifts? Are you able to read him stories, right? When you have people at a distance, I know when my niece comes to visit and she'll spend the night with me and she's young, we pray. And it's a great time. We pray before we go to sleep and we talk to Jesus. And I do that with her. So there are little things you can do to pique the interest, and then you be praying that God brings Christians into this boy's life, that he hear it from other sources if his parents aren't going to show him.
Yeah.
Brenda, what stopped you talking to your grandson about Jesus?
Nothing's really stopping me. I mean, my daughter is a believer. She grew up going to church, but she had a bad experience when she was in junior high in church, and it kind of turned her off of, formal church. And but she'll ask me to pray about things that come up, and I tell her she should be praying about such and such. So I know she is a believer, but I don't want to push her away. She's very sensitive about her son and how he's brought up and the things he does and all that. So I don't want to look like I'm pushing anything because I don't want to ruin the relationship I have with her and lose all influence.
So you're fearful to talk with your grandson about Jesus in case your daughter doesn't want you to?
Well, yeah, to some degree. I mean, I think Jill's idea of a book is good. I could get it like a Christmas book.
Right. Christmas is the perfect time because people are more open to the Christmas story. At least start educating him on the Christmas story, on Bible stories.
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah.
You know what?
I think she would be okay with that. I think.
Yeah, and you know what a good book is the Jesus Storybook Bible. I don't know if you've ever seen that. I think my wife owns stock in that because we bought so many of them over the years to give away. But it's a fantastic Bible because it's obviously it's written for kids, but it goes through all of the stories from the Old Testament through the New Testament, and it links them all to Jesus. And I think it's a great, he's asking about who Jesus is. And so, and as Jill's saying, it's the perfect time to talk about Jesus. It's Christmas. It's the time to give gifts. And so I encourage you, take a risk, take a risk for the kingdom and get your grandson a Bible and, and see what that opens up.
Again?
It's called the Jesus Storybook Bible.
Okay. I will. That's a great idea. I will definitely do that.
And I hear that you kind of walk gingerly with this daughter. And I know as parents, it's hard. We have to kind of keep our mouths shut. But the fact that she's asking you to pray for her, I think I would let her know that you do pray for her and you pray for her son and her family. And that, I mean, would it be too much to say, did you know your son was asking about who Jesus is? I just thought you should know that.
She knew.
Okay.
She knew. In fact, I think she's the one that told me. And she kind of, laughed. And, I don't know. I can't remember how I responded. I think I was just taken aback.
Right. Because I would want to know, what did you say?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
She's the mom. Okay,
Right.
what did she say? She knows who Jesus is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Brenda, I'm actually going to take this in a little bit different direction, if I can, with you, is because your grandson is young. Yeah. He's got his whole life ahead of him. So there's something inside of you that took an incident and wrote the rest of the story. Right? And it wasn't a good ending.
No.
Okay? That tells me that you're carrying a lot of fear, because that's what fear does. Fear takes an incident and writes an entire story, and it sort of overgeneralizes and what we call globalizes the issue. And and then here's actually, I think, the part of the damaging effects of that. Not just that we're painting a bad picture or writing a bad story for somebody else, but it also drives very controlling behavior. And typically when we're controlling people, especially adults, I mean, children will put up with it until they become adults. But if we drive controlling behavior, it tends to drive people away, especially if we're not connecting first. I want you to be able to trust your ability to connect with your daughter and connect with your grandson, to put fear at bay, and to trust that God is already working in their lives.
Yeah.
You're not...
I do know that.
Yeah. And so
you're right.
To live at a little bit more peace and more assurance inside of yourself, and I believe that actually drives more attraction to your faith.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah, so what I would just encourage you to do, because there's a lot of different things in our lives that can really drive a lot of fear in us. And it could even be kind of, as we grow older, there's some parts of our faith that we grew up with that we kind of shed because they're really not helpful and they're really not faithful, and maybe not true. And so sometimes we'll grow up with this great fear of condemnation, but then we really start to integrate Romans chapter 8, there is no condemnation for those in Christ Jesus. We learn to shed those things, take those things off. And I would just take a deeper dive in your own life. Take this as an invitation to say, hey, what's driving the fear inside of me that I probably need to let go of and work through and maybe even find some healing around.
And I would also learn to take a risk here, Brenda, because, relationships are about risks sometimes, right? And that's how we end up facing fear is by doing the thing that scares us. And in relationship, it is true. Your daughter could be offended, but when we have relationship with people, offenses happen.
Yeah.
And part of relationship is learning how to patch those things up. And so I encourage you to take a relational risk and see what payoff you might get from it.
And maybe reflect on the history with your daughter when you have taken risks. And start small. Start, with a little risk. But remind yourself of how you've gotten through them in the past.
Yeah, that's good. Well, Brenda, thank you so much for calling today, and we hope that was helpful for you. And we're going to send you a copy of Take Your Life Back. I think that will help frame some of these fear and control issues and help you work back into, a deeper, relationship and assurance in God, knowing that He is such an amazing part of your life. And I love Brenda's story because we really do. What she said something I think was really important, and that was, I don't want my loved ones to grow up apart from the love of Christ.
Yes.
And what that tells me is that she is a person who has experienced the sweetness and richness of the love of Christ. And what a great motivation it is to connect other people to the love of Christ, because it is a game changer for sure. So, all right, we're going to go back to the phones. We're going to go to Sandra, listening in Wilmington, Delaware, on a podcast. Again, if you want to join us, 1-800-229-3000. And joining us right now is Sandra. Sandra, are you there?
I sure am. How's everybody doing today?
We're doing good.
Okay.
Okay, so my question centers around personal time management, which I've struggled with my whole life, really. Things like being late, procrastinating, then burning the midnight oil, wasting time, then feeling overwhelmed by things that I haven't done. I can always function well when I'm pressed by a timetable or a deadline, but now I'm semi-retired and I don't have much of the structure that helped me in the past. So the question is, how do I muster the energy and or the motivation to manage myself and do the stuff I need to do in the absence of pressure and structure?
That is a phenomenal question.
Well, and we rarely get
Yes,
this question,
I'm like,
which
oh my
I'm so
gosh.
surprised
Yes.
about, because actually quite a lot of people deal with this, and we know nothing about it.
The amount of insight to yourself, Sandra, that you have is phenomenal. So, Marc, what do we do with Sandra here?
Yeah, so Sandra, a lot of what you're saying, people who have ADHD struggle with. Have you ever been assessed or diagnosed with ADHD?
I've never been assessed, but it is something that I had been looking at on my own, and I wondered about that.
Yeah, especially because you're saying that you've been this way for your entire life, right? And so people who have ADHD, this is just kind of how their brains work, right? They have deficits in the prefrontal cortex, and that hinders their ability to plan, prioritize, organize, right? All of the things that others seem to do really, really well, right? And they get distracted and they feel like they can't keep up. But then, like what you're saying, when you're pressed with a deadline, then maybe you can hyper-focus and get things done. And so, if really that is what is happening with you, it's important to get assessed, and then maybe get some treatment that targets those things specifically.
So can I just speak in defense of neurodivergent brains, that people with ADHD are highly creative, spontaneous, and fun, and very good at compensating. So Sandra, my guess is that you've been able to compensate over the years with the right structure in place externally, right? Because what you lack internally, you need to put in place externally. And so it makes perfect sense that when those things are taken away, you're hitting kind of up against your glass ceiling of what you can compensate for. So I would suggest, and we're running out of time here, so I may have to save those till after.
Yes,
the break,
so Sandra, we'll come right back to you. Cliffhanger. We got some great things for Sandra after this. Hey, give us a call, 1-800-229-3000. We'll be in studio for a couple hours here. We'd love to talk to you. Give us a call, and we'll be right back.
I came kicking and screaming. The last 24 years have been filled with pain. I was violently molested and raped from the age of 6 to 13. It has changed everything in my life. This weekend for me has been life-altering. I have realized that God does love me, that this is my story, and that's okay for the first time in a long time.
This is Steve Arterburn, and this is the story of a new life. She came kicking and screaming and now has a changed life. You can be part of offering hope to others as you step out in faith by donating to New Life Ministry.
To make your tax-deductible gift, visit newlife.com and click Donate. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE or text NLM to 28950. That's NLM to 28950.
I have given to New Life regularly because I have so many people that I am referring to New Life who so benefit from the ministry. I just can't imagine what would happen in my area if New Life wasn't available to us.
You can help New Life Live stay on the air by joining Club New Life today. When you sign up to support us monthly through Club New Life, we'll send you the new member thank you gift of all 8 100-day devotionals, including 100 Days of Prayer, 100 Days of Freedom from Depression, and 100 Days of Peace. There are also ongoing benefits like the monthly Club New Life CD or download, access to the Club New Life video library, quarterly resources, free shipping on purchased resources, discounts on workshops, and quarterly online meetings with Steve. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Support Club New Life, and together we can help hurting people find help and hope in life's hardest places. Call 1-800-639-5433 to join Club New Life today. We'd love to hear from you. If you have a question or a comment, call toll-free 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
As you just heard, a comment, question, something that we can help you out with today, give us a call. We're going to be in studio for a couple hours today. Phone lines are open. We'd love to talk to you, 1-800-229-3000. And we have Sandra. We're talking to Sandra. And yes, and I'm sorry to say this, it just kind of hit a little too close to home for me, right? Late, procrastinating.
Yeah.
You know, it's like...
Not for me at all.
Yeah, I'd say it like this, you know. Productivity in my life is driven by intensity, which is not always the funnest thing. But Jill, you were sharing.
Oh yeah,
and
I wish I could remember everything I said on the break, Sandra. But here's the thing: if you do have ADHD, your brain works in a more circular way, and you live in a linear world, which is exhausting. And in that, well, and let me just also say, halfway through life, through perimenopause and then menopause, everything we've ever struggled with is magnified. Okay? And so it's really easy to get really down on yourself. And people with ADHD can do a lot of self-shaming. And so it's important to get out of that, to see, okay, your brain functions differently. That doesn't mean it's bad or wrong or broken. Okay, so it just means you need to approach things differently. So instead of trying to force yourself to function the way linear people do, who say you have to plan ahead and do everything way in advance, otherwise there's something wrong with you. No, I was saying that people with ADHD can do more in hyper-focus, as you were talking, the intensity.
Yeah.
Right, Chris, than a lot of people can do in months of planning. And so embrace how God created you and put in place the structures that you need. So in retirement, it's a little harder, but you've got to add in some things that will help you to hold you as you move through. But you might also consider adjusting your expectations as well. You're in retirement. Do you have to do everything the way you did it before? Right? What things are you telling yourself, I have to do this, I'm not being productive? Okay, well, maybe you're not going to be as productive. So what?
Yeah.
What's the impact? But Mark, you were also talking about the impact on relationships, and that's where we do need to be sensitive.
Right, because there's definitely, as Jill's saying, right, there's not something that's wrong with you because you have an ADHD brain. It's just there's about 8.5% of people who have ADHD brains, and that's just the way they work. And, as Jill's pointing out, it's just
I think it's higher
working
than that,
yeah, probably, right? Our working society, right, where we say everything needs to be on a calendar, everything needs to be scheduled. And then that throws people off who have ADHD. But there's also an ADHD effect on relationships. And you were talking here, Sandra, about being late. And I don't know if you have kids or if you're married, but does this impact your relationships?
Well, what's really interesting is I'm pretty sure my husband has ADHD as well. We don't have children, but the one thing that would drive him crazy is he can be on time. And I struggle with being late.
Right.
So that's probably the key thing. Otherwise, he's very, very easygoing about what's done and what's not done. You're right. I'm probably more hard on myself than anyone else is.
Well, and there is also something with those who have that symptom, that actually number one symptom of ADHD is the lateness factor. There's often a time blindness, or some people call it time drunkenness, where you tend to suspend time and then surprised by how it's caught up with you, or you're unrealistic at how long things take for you to actually do. And there's a disconnect between how long you think it ought to take and how long it actually does take with all of the distractions that often come into place. And so sometimes, I know in the past, I've actually, a little self-disclosure here, had a friend time me doing things. And it was very eye-opening to see, like getting ready in the morning so I could actually get to radio on time. I had someone sit with me, someone I really trusted who was not shaming, sit with me and time me. And we made a chart. We added a structure. And it was, though, in the context of relationship, because I think healing really takes place in relationship, not when we have to hide in shame. And so doing things like that, and then talking with your partner about, okay, how does my lateness impact you? And how can we work around that? What are some ways you can help me and I can minimize the impact on you?
Yeah, and using each other's strengths, right? Jill, you're saying about healing happening in relationship, right? And so if your husband's strength is getting to places on time, maybe it's just coming up with an agreement where he gives you reminders, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And again, understanding, right, what Jill's talking about, this time blindness, it has to do with working memory. People with ADHD have trouble moving numbers around in their head, and so that's why it's hard for them to estimate time. And so, I just encourage you here, Sandra, find out more about ADHD, if this is how your brain works, because as you learn how to understand yourself, you can then help others understand you.
Yeah. And so, Sandra, I'm going to suggest three tangible things. Seek peace and pursue it, as the verse says, but find time to get meditation and recreation. Number 2, cultivate kindness towards yourself.
Yeah.
Number 3, Jill mentioned it. You're creative. So that means in your retirement, you need to explore. You need to go, be a discoverer.
Where time is suspended.
For
and
sure.
You can just be creative.
And we're going to send you a copy of Understanding and Loving a Person with ADHD. We're going to really hope that will help you on your journey. Thank you again so much for calling us. And we're going to be right back right after this.
For most of my life, I've been dealing with an opiate addiction.
Why is opioid addiction quickly becoming one of our nation's biggest killers? Maybe it's because it isn't only those who are addicted who are in denial.
We did what I see so many parents do, is it can't be an addiction. There's something medically wrong.
It's impossible to solve a problem when you don't know what you're up against, and families will try to find any explanation except the one that will put them on the right path.
Alcoholism and drug addiction is a family disease. It doesn't affect just the individual.
If someone you love is abusing painkillers, know what you're up against. It's time to admit its addiction and seek treatment. Call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. We have partner treatment centers around the country. Call 1-800-639-5433 or visit us online at newlife.com.
We just made a decision. We will do whatever it takes.
1-800-NEW-LIFE.
I was sort of vaguely familiar that the 12 steps had some origination in the Bible. I found Life Recovery. And one of the things I liked so much was that it had such a broad appeal. It wasn't limited to just alcohol or drugs, that it was addressing a wide range of problems.
At New Life, we believe everyone can benefit from a life recovery experience. There are life recovery groups all over the country. They take place online, in conference calls, and in person. And if there isn't one in your area, we can help you start one. We have startup materials, leaders' guides, CDs, Bibles, and more, all with discounts available for groups. Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE and ask for Terry Ward. The 12 Steps have long been a great help to people in recovery because much of the 12 Steps' power comes from the fact that they capture principles clearly revealed in the Bible.
The 12 Steps is really a pattern for all of us as Christians.
Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433. We're glad you joined us for New Life Live. To be a part of the program, call 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back to New Life Live, and we're going to be in studio here for the rest of this hour and for a whole other hour. Give us a call, 1-800-229-3000. We got some open lines. We'd love to talk to you. And right now, we're going to go talk to James in Clearwater, Florida, who is watching and listening to us through YouTube. We love, love, love our YouTube audience. James, are you there?
Yes. How are you doing today?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. I wanted to just share, I actually came across the Life Application Bible a couple weeks back and initially found out that they had videos to Tyndale on there, and I came across your channel and recommendations that kind of broke some of the steps down more. And I actually just received mine in the mail today before I called. I'm 46 days, I think it's 46 days sober from crystal meth today.
Oh, great job. Great job, James. I know that can be a very, very difficult recovery road, especially in those beginning few months.
Well, it's been a process of actually, I would say, a total of between 50 to 100 relapses to getting to this point before I did it with kind of focusing on God and not so much on my own strength or codepending on other people.
Yeah.
I lost my mother to COVID on 9/11/2021, and that's kind of what started my snowball back down into it because I've been battling with it since 2016, but this is the longest that I've actually been able to make it.
Yeah.
And my question that I was sort of mentioning to who asked me earlier, a lot of what kind of fueled that in that time was partially because I lost my brother to HIV.
Okay.
And the other half was trauma with my stepmother that I'm still working through. And even though I don't see her, her presence still affects my father and my relationship with him. And I'm trying to kind of work out my own stuff with that to try to reach a place, even if she's not, for myself. So I guess my question would be, with someone kind of going new into recovery where, when you get to steps when you want to talk to somebody where it's not safe to, what's good ways to work through forgiveness for somebody if it's not really a safe or a viable option when it gets to the step of actually reconciliation?
Okay. Yeah. I mean, James, that's a great question. I just want to first off by recognize that you have had a lot of chaos in your life. And a lot of loss.
Yeah.
Grief's very challenging.
Yes, man. And so in that grief and in that chaos, let's just recognize something that a lot of people may not realize, is that methamphetamine is a stimulant. And it helps us get out of the chaos. And ironically, for those who live in chaos, it actually helps you calm down and be able to focus. But unfortunately, it's one of those things that offers you the world on the front end and then takes everything from you on the back end. It is a horrible trick, as you've experienced. And so our love is with you. Our support is with you. We're so glad that you're able to find the life recovery resources. But I'm going to go to you, Jill. I mean, these are big questions about how do we engage in relationship that are conflicted and difficult, and where's forgiveness in this?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and James, I'm hoping that as you are in your recovery process, that it is opening you up to being able to grieve. So we have to be able to grieve for what is lost, to grieve for what we hoped would be and what will never be, right? And to be realistic about those expectations. When we have difficult relationships that feel unresolved and it's hard to move forward in, there is a part of forgiving when it is not still happening. So we can forgive the past. When something is when we're being currently hurt, it's still happening, right? So we forgive what is past. And you know that the forgiveness is for you. It's only half of the equation. And really, you cannot reconcile with someone unless they can see at least a portion of their part. So the first step is in being able to forgive, in a sense, and hand that person over to God for him to deal with, so that you are unhooked from them and can have that kind of, it doesn't mean always leave relationship, right? A lot of people are quick to just cut people out. No, we salvage what we can. We trust people to the degree that they're trustworthy, and we use healthy detachment, right, to often be in relationship with them, even if it's more one-sided or less than what we would want, right? So to be able to name the things that have been hurtful to you, right, and to hand those over to God, and to work with someone else other than your stepmother in these things, to share these things with another person, to be in therapy, working through some of what was traumatic, and someone who is safe and will hear your story, right? And will help you in processing the impact of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love what you're saying there, Jill, too, about forgiveness being for us, right? Because oftentimes we think it's for the other, and really it's for both.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I love that you're asking this question, James, too, because, many people who are in addiction, they have a lot of people who need to forgive them. Right. And so I love that you are also kind of exploring how can you forgive others too. And whenever I talk with people about forgiveness, I like to differentiate between decisional forgiveness and emotional forgiveness, right? Because sometimes we don't feel like forgiving. And so we think, well, I can't forgive because I'm just not there yet. And really, emotional forgiveness often comes after we make the decision to forgive. And many times that's making many decisions before the emotional piece of it comes. But I like what Jill's saying too here about, how do you forgive somebody who's continuing to hurt you, right? And so you can look at the past and you can choose to forgive because that's the decision. And then the next part of it, right, is where grace comes in, right? And that's where we have grace for future offenses that come to us, right? Because we start to work through our own stuff. And, you know, as Christians,
if I may.
Sure.
I was reading before you called. I was reading through Matthew 18, and I know it's near the bottom, but where it kind of goes into 70 times 7.
Mm-hmm.
And I was wondering if you could kind of break that down a little deeper for me, if you could, in relation to maybe even this kind of question.
Sure, yeah, and I'm not a theologian here, so I'll just preface it with that. But I do know that numbers are important in the Bible, right? And sometimes we read them literally, right? But 7 is the number of perfection, right? And 10 is the number of completion. Right. So 70 times 7, right, really was, you know, perfection, completion times perfection. And so really what Jesus was saying was infinite. Right, you keep on forgiving, because we know that as Christians that we'll never have to forgive others more than Jesus forgave us, right? And then that's how, and when we can understand that, when we can draw upon that, that's how we tap into grace. That's the only way we tap into grace, is by knowing that we have grace for ourselves.
Right, but that forgiving, endless forgiving, is not trusting.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So it's forgiveness.
Okay, that's separate, right?
That is separate. So you're not going to just wipe the slate completely clean like Jesus does for us, right? You're going to remember, again, where you can trust and where you cannot.
Right. It's not forgetting.
Boundaries are healthy.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and if I can jump in there with that as well, James, I would like for you to think of that verse like this. If I could speak for it a different way, it's Jesus telling us, do not let fear and resentment run your life. Do not let them rule your heart. What we're trying to...
And they have been for a long time.
Yeah. And listen, that heart has to get medicated, period. There's no option. I've done this long enough. And that's why so much work in recovery is working through our resentments, cleaning it out, working through our fears and cleaning it out. And I just want to give you a couple things here, because you're in a pretty precarious situation right now, being 45 days in. 46, yeah.
Don't rob him of a day.
No, every day matters, for sure. Every day matters, one day at a time.
Exactly.
The question you're asking, your heart's not ready for yet. There's a reason why these steps happen in order, and they're really important, because you want to tackle a really, really painful situation that requires a lot of stability inside of you. You're on a train track going to a new place, a better destination. One of those rails is your recovery program. You've got to be in a strong recovery program. The other rail is a healing process. That's where Jill was mentioning therapy. These two rails need to work together, because when one of them tends to not be there, we derail. So I want to encourage you in that. And we're going to send you another copy of the Life Recovery Bible. We're also going to send you a copy of Loving and Understanding a Person with Addiction, with a substance abuse addiction, just so we get some insight there. And also, I want to encourage you to come to the Emotional Freedom Workshop. There is a lot there that I think that you can benefit from, especially with your grief. We'll be right back.
We all face days where life throws us a curveball and our routines or plans get disrupted. Things we wanted to do are forced to take a backseat to the unexpected demands of the day. If you normally listen to New Life Live on a radio station, well, you might not be able to that day. And on these hectic days when you're feeling stressed or frazzled, hearing the sound of counsel given on New Life Live is just what you need to navigate the unexpected things of life.
Every time I'm troubled or I have a problem, I'll cut on New Life, and there's always something that is said that is helpful to me.
By listening, I have learned more than I can ever express about how God wants me to live.
Download the New Life app for the easiest way to listen wherever you are and at a time that's convenient for you, or watch the show on our YouTube channel. You can even subscribe to our podcast from your favorite podcast provider. You never have to miss a day of New Life. Wherever you are, we are. Chris Williams on coaching.
Oftentimes I get asked, what is the difference between therapy and coaching? The biggest difference between the two is that a therapist is going to be looking for a diagnosable mental health condition, whereas a coach is going to look at a particular issue. and help a person work through that.
If you need a coach, call New Life today and ask about the New Life Coaching Network. Our coaches have been trained and screened with the same intensive process we use for our network counselors.
If you're looking at an issue in your life that you just kind of want to change, whether it be your weight or leadership or other areas of behavioral patterns, check out coaching. There can be some really, really helpful things for you.
Take control of your life and take action to achieve your goals. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433 and talk to us about getting a New Life coach. 1-800-NEW-LIFE. To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back to New Life Live. Again, Chris Williams, Dr. Jill Hubbard, and Marc Cameron. Again, we're going to be in the studio for another hour. If you are online, hold on if we don't happen to get to you. If you want to talk to us, give us a call, 1-800-229-3000. I do want to mention that we have an early bird special for the Emotional Freedom Workshop. It ends on Friday. So if you are carrying around struggles, internal struggles with life, struggles with, could be grief, it could be addiction, it could just be like feeling like some of your relationships are out of control. Emotional Freedom Workshop is built and designed specifically for you. So please check it out. Don't delay because you get the early bird special, but it does runs out this Friday. With that, we're going to go to a final call today, and we're going to Emily in Atlanta, Georgia, listening on WNIV. Emily, are you there?
I am. Thanks for taking my call.
No problem.
I appreciate the work you all do.
Oh, well, thank you.
So I joined Al-Anon about a year ago, started going to meetings. I was raised in a family where alcoholism was historical, I should say. And then I lost my father and an uncle to both drug addiction deaths. And about a year ago, well, I will say in the past probably 7 years, I've noticed my husband's drinking has increased. And we had several conversations about it, and he always kind of had the attitude like, this is something I can control, I'm good, but, it's just something I need to work on. And then about a year ago, I realized that he was hiding alcohol around the house, and namely in our closet, like literally closet drinking. And, it was funny when I got on the Al-Anon website, I realized all the questions they were asking was about my behavior, not about the problem drinker's behavior. And I realized that I had those behaviors where I was trying to control and I was trying to check up on and I was trying to, probably manipulate situations. And so I started going to meetings. And of course, that's what I love about that program is that it's about me and my reaction. But at the same time, I'm just getting more and more concerned about my husband's hiding the drinking. And I have not confronted him on this. And it's not going away. I question, is this, I think I should confront him on it, but I don't know if that's my job, and I don't.
Well, Emily, let me jump in really quickly. If you could state it in a question for us, like here's the thing that I want help with today.
I guess that's it. I want to know if that's my responsibility to him to confront him on it.
Yeah, it's a great question. I have a question back for you. Is it disrupting your lives?
No. Not so much he hasn't missed a day of work. His relationships
Hold
with
on.
our kids are good.
Is it disrupting your life?
Yes. I'm stressed out and worried about it. Yes.
Let me just say this. I'm so glad you're in Al-Anon, because when I asked you the first question, you left yourself out of it. And so, and that's oftentimes what we do as children of alcoholics or children of addiction is we were left out. So we leave ourselves out of the equation all the time. And really these for the Al-Anon out there, for the codependent out there, this is about the recovery of the self. And so if it's disrupting you, my initial answer, and there's more to it than because it's disrupting him as well, but my initial answer is, do you confront it? And the quick answer is yes, you do. Now, the scarier, how, right? How?
Yeah.
So, Jill, Marc, help us out.
And I can, if I could follow that up with, it's like I don't know what to ask for. I don't know what.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Emily, I would loop others in. I don't know if you have a therapist or you have trusted friends, pastors, people who love you both in your life, but I would loop others in, because you likely need others to help you reinforce the message, because oftentimes when we confront addicts, they get defensive, right? And they will push back. And so you will really need others to help you be able to kind of push through. And so to answer the question about responsibility, it's not you're not responsible for him, you're responsible for yourself. And I like where Chris was going, because he's asking you how it is interrupting your life and affecting you. And so really, as you confront your husband, the way to do it is to not just say that you are concerned, but also tell him how it's impacting you, right? I feel unsafe, right? And then, right, what your need is, if we really need to be able to learn how to link emotions to needs, right? And if we feel unsafe, then we need safety, right? We need security. And so that's what that's how I would present it when you do confront him. But you likely will need someone to help you kind of shape the timing of how it all happens and how you're going to say it, and then following up with a boundary or a request that you're going to have with it.
I think that's a really good plan, Emily. But are you afraid to talk to your husband?
Not in a physical sense. No.
Okay.
Just that I know it'll wreak havoc on the daily routine of life. You know, that something will have to change, and I don't know if it will.
Sometimes too, we can start by just bringing things out into the open. And guys, I don't know what you think about this, but if I were finding hidden alcohol, I might just pull it out and leave it in sight to acknowledge that I know, right?
Yeah.
Well, and here's the thing, is that when we grow up in addicted families, we automatically keep secrets without even knowing about it.
Yes.
You know, knowing that we're actually harboring the secret itself, which is contributing to the problem. And it can be scary and terrifying, but I will say it is necessary. And I would take it a step further than Jill. I would say bring it out into the open, put it on the counter with a sticky note that says, "Can we please talk about this?"
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah, because really confrontation isn't trying to control him. It's trying to let him know how you're impacted by what he's doing. And that's important, because you know, Marc was saying it really well. If you don't have safety in your relationship, if you don't have a sense of security in your relationship, you do not have trust.
Right.
If you do not have trust, you do not have closeness, you do not have a marriage. Like, that's a really strong statement here.
Right. When you hide things, I feel unsafe.
Yeah.
Right. It's not physical fear, it's emotional safety.
Right.
Yes. Yeah.
When we can't talk about things, I'm scared for our marriage.
Yes.
Right? So when I feel is often a good formula.
Yep. That's good. Well, Emily, we are out of time here today, but we are so grateful for your call. We want to encourage you and help you and support you in having hard conversations. And so we're going to send you a copy, again, of Understanding and Loving a Person with Alcoholism. And we want to also send you a Life Recovery Bible. I think that is for you as well. Thank you for being with us today. And we really, really wish for you to have a wonderful, wonderful day full of God's abundant love. We'll see you on the backside.
Thanks for listening. We hope this program has helped you by giving you insights for handling the challenges you face in your life. We want you to know that we're here for you, but you also need to know that New Life Live is a listener-supported ministry. To make your donation or to get any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433, or write to us at New Life Ministries, P.O. Box 1029, Lake Forest, California, 92609. Please join us again tomorrow for New Life Live.
Hi, thank you for watching New Life Live. You know, New Life Live is a Christian counseling program where we deal with the hard questions about life, relationships, kids, free choice, freedom of will, whatever. It's all right there on New Life Live every day, every weekday, 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. If you want to call into the live broadcast, you can find the schedule on newlife.com or click the social media link right below. You can see every episode of New Life Live on the New Life YouTube channel. Watch it with a friend, watch it later. Be sure to subscribe and hit that bell so you'll never miss another episode. So if you want to listen on the go, download the app. The link is right below. And I hope if you need some information, if you want to get some help, you'll call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. And I'll see you next time.